This week on Front End Fire, we have a unique holiday episode. We're going to talk about our predictions from a couple years ago and see if we got anything right. And then we'll talk about our predictions this year, as well as talk about what's making us happy. Let's get right into it. Oh my gosh, I do remember that. Wow.
Yeah.
That was
That's so good.
We should just use that music every week.
Right?
Just
I know.
should get out of bed to that music, man. You get
Yes. Oh
pumped
my
up.
God.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yes, that would be a living nightmare. Anyway, yes. Hi, I'm Jack Harrington, and I will be your moderator, whatever, for this week. With me are my esteemed colleague, TJ Van Tol.
Hey, everybody.
And Paige Niederinghouse.
Happy holidays.
TJ is full on holiday gear.
He is.
With his Tigers holiday hat and his very beautiful ugly sweater. Love it. What is on that thing?
This sweater has a story behind it. So if you're on YouTube, you can see it. But this is from my progress days, right? We've got the Telerik Ninja, and then we've got the Kendo UI Ninja on here as well. So honestly, some of the best tech swag that exists. So shout out to Progress and
big time
for the nice sweater, because this thing is pretty awesome.
Yeah, that is sweet.
Is it sweater functional? I know you're working on some stuff that requires you to go outside in the Michigan weather.
It's extremely warm. It's a legit holiday sweater.
Nice. Yeah, I'm not dealing with snow out in Portland. At least I'm dealing with unbelievable amounts of rain, and I turned my humidifier on in the garage because that's where I do 3D printing, and overnight it went full. Like, it just kind of it was amazing.
Wow.
So yeah, it's humidity and 3D printing, not a thing. Okay, how are you doing, Paige? You're out in Atlanta. I can't imagine that there's anything going on out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's been this week has been really pretty nice. It's a little bit warmer than it is typically down here in the South, even for this time of year. So I can't complain. We haven't had a ton of rain, haven't had, bad weather. It's been okay.
There you go. Okay. Well, let's talk about some predictions. What did we get right? What did we get wrong? I want to hear it. This is great. Okay.
All right. So I'll set the context for this, because we're talking about what we wanted to do for this episode. And we kind of, amongst us, agreed that predictions are probably the most fun thing to do at the end of the year. And we wanted to revisit previous predictions we had made. Now, we did not make any predictions last year, which honestly was a pretty big oversight, because I think this is probably going to be our format moving forward, because these are always fun to look back at. But 2 years ago, we did a full prediction episode. I think it was like episode 24 of the show.
Wow.
Where we each made one prediction about the front end world for what would happen in 2024. And I grabbed a snippet of all of ours. Do we have any volunteers for who would like to go first?
Yeah, sure. I'll go first.
Okay. Here we go. Here's Jack's prediction for 2024.
Okay. Oh,
all right. Well, my prediction for the year is simplicity. Simplicity is going to reign in 2024. Yes. Yeah. I think adding on to your point, Paige, that people are looking at that platform and saying, wow, there's a lot going on here. There's a lot I can leverage. We're not leveraging it. Or, it feels like React is papering over everything. We're not able to really use the platform as much as we would like, that kind of thing. So you're seeing the rise of stuff like HTMX and Astro and platforms that are kind of going back, back to the platform, I guess, and I think that's very interesting.
No.
No.
I don't think so.
In a way, like there's things like Tanstack Start, which kind of is a more basic approach. I'm stretching to kind of get you there.
Yeah. I think I was wrong. I mean, I don't think HTML. I certainly don't think Remix 3 is making any waves.
Not yet, at least. Yeah, but that's an attempt to go back to the basics. But
yeah, I mean, I would say, eventually, once people get into Solid, which I'm not gonna. But anyway, I do think you're right in a little bit. Like React Start is certainly going back to more of a pages router concept, which is a little bit more basic than certainly like RSCs. Maybe maybe it was right in that we didn't like go crazy, or that we're starting to roll back off the crazy high complexity curve. How about that? I don't know. Yeah. It's a very general kind of prediction, just sort of lame.
We have to get better and more pointed in our predictions.
Yeah, right. Somebody like Dallas will go to the Super Bowl. You can prove out that claim or not.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you did best mention Astro, and Astro is still doing quite well. So
yeah,
there's some decent. You had some decent points in there.
Yeah, Astro got some funding, so that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, HTMX is still there, still dropping memes left and right. So
yeah, exactly. There's still horses with lasers.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that the people who like the simplicity are still on that train, and everybody else who has, jobs in regular large companies is using Next.js probably, because that is the safe bet at this point. So, yeah.
Dropping bombs like it's hot. Okay.
All right, Paige, you ready for yours?
Oh, boy.
I predict for 2024 that we are going to have more JavaScript APIs that get built. So we had a lot of new features that got released this year, some really cool like new array or non-mutating array functions.
Mm-hmm.
We had a lot of we had some really good, intersection observer and the the animations API and transitions and things like that. So I have a prediction that it's just going to continue.
Yeah, I mean, there are a few.
Really?
But
temporal and the date that is actually out. That's one big one that I can think of off the top of my head.
I keep forgetting temporal, so yeah.
Yeah, I think that there's a bunch that have come out, but we just haven't really we haven't figured out what they're useful for. I feel like there's new stuff, but nobody's really using them. Is the thing.
Well, okay, so integrated AI,
Yeah,
yes.
A lot of the APIs Chrome is pushing forward for AI. Yeah.
That's something.
Yeah. I should have. Yeah, I did. I mean, I don't think. Did any of us talk about AI in 2024? I don't feel like maybe we did.
No,
we didn't make predictions.
But I don't know if you guys were on the bandwagon yet. You were all like, I
Probably.
don't know. Copilot is a fad.
Yeah. Well, my prediction is spoiler alert. Mine is totally AI related.
Great. Okay.
Well, I can get into mine, but I want to caveat mine because mine sounds pretty accurate when you hear it. But there's some things I said around it.
No wonder you wanted to do this.
Yeah.
I'm going to win.
I did say, though, before I gave my prediction that this is not a super hot take. This is likely to happen. And I felt kind of bad about that. But anyways, here is mine. My prediction is that these AIs that evaluate our whole applications will be very common in 2024. So we will move beyond just asking a file like, hey, how do I make this loop do this? Or why do I get this compiler error? And instead we'll start using tools that'll be, how can I refactor this? Or I'm having this bug in my app. Can you find what file it's in?
That did feel a little bit like Star Trek at the time.
Nailed that, TJ.
Yeah.
That is an A+ for that prediction.
I did, though. Like, I also said, I was talking about Amazon Code Whisperer, and I had, so there isn't totally on there, but overall, I feel pretty good about that. I think if anything, you could easily make that prediction for this year that that's just gonna straight up continue.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But it is like going back 2 years. It's funny because when we first had AI, we were blown away, but we were still just copying and pasting into ChatGPT for everything. And it's for the most part, at least. And it's funny how far we've come.
Yeah.
A little too far, I think, in some ways. Like for me, at least, like I'm just coming away from this experience on Tansec AI where we spent like 6 days kind of going in the wrong direction on an API. And one of the things that I'm learning is that AIs hide the pain from you on things. Like sometimes when you think about it, like if you had a direction that you wanted to go in and you started hand coding it and it turned into a nightmare really fast, like, ooh, this isn't working and that isn't working. And, you'd be like, in your gut instinct would be like, maybe this is the wrong direction. Maybe I'm pushing in the wrong way, right? Unfortunately, AIs are like, yes, sir, let's go, and then it's like, I changed a bunch of files and now it works. And you're like, you really spend like, and then you kind of maybe push on and, maybe you don't look at what it did to see that it bent over backwards and broke a whole bunch of stuff trying to get you there. And it's like, yeah, that's not so good. Yeah.
The scale I try to use nowadays when it comes to this stuff is how long-term maintainable is this code I'm writing going to be? Because if it's a one-off, if I just need a one-time done task, I'll blindly throw that at AI, right? If I just need a script that moves images from one folder to another and does a rename or whatever, code quality doesn't matter at all. I just need to get the thing done. But at the flip end of it, if I'm writing a core interface for an important program, well, for that, I'm going to try to hand code that. Maybe I'll ask AI, I'll put AI sort of in ask mode and just, but still try to write that myself and try to find where on that scale, where on that slider, essentially, whatever I'm working on happens to fall. But it's not always easy, though, because sometimes you don't always know.
Yeah, I mean, there are certain things that I still want to do, like TJ was just saying, like by myself, or I want to start it at least. And then if I get stuck or if I need some assistance of like refactoring or just thinking through a problem because it's gotten more complex than I initially anticipated it to be, I think that's a great way to use it. But also, like on this new application that we're building at work, it is complex things that we're trying to solve for. It's AI, because we're using AI calls within the application to do different pieces of processing and data fetching and visualization making and stuff like that. So Claude and I are like making plans every day and writing up implementation docs and then working through it. And so, yeah, it is going a lot faster in that regard than I would ever be able to do on my own, just because of the complexity and the size of the changes that we're making. And Claude, a lot of times it has good ideas, but I still need to watch it and approve every change that it makes, because even though it has said it wants to do it this way, it will just still forget things, leave them out, do shortcuts when it doesn't want to like follow the patterns that have already been established within the code base. So yeah, it's useful. It's a tool, but it still at the end of the day, I feel responsible for the final output and making sure that it does what I want it to do.
It loves async imports. I don't know what it is, but it loves async imports. Just like right in the middle of like a huge module. It's just like, oh yeah, I think I'm gonna import this thing asynchronously. You're like, what are you doing?
Really?
Why are you doing that?
For me, Claude hates the color that we pick for links on our website, which it probably has a point. It probably isn't the greatest color. But but the thing is, it's like I tell it in my Claude MD, this is our company style. I don't get to change it. You don't get to change it. This is the color. But every time I'm tell it to change anything, it sneaks that in. It it's got this like subversive mentality where it's determined to change my link color. And
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyways,
one thing I will offer is, but use it up front. If you got like an API that you're working on, just throw some API options at it and be like, hey, which do you prefer, right? And this is one of the things that we neglected to do on Tansec AI is, we sat around and we thought up this great API and we're like patting ourselves on the back like, oh, that's fantastic, that's amazing. And then, so we go off and implement it, and it's a nightmare to implement and yada yada. And then a couple of days into it, I'm thinking to myself, this is not good. I was a doubter in the beginning, and then I kind of came around, and then we went back to being a doubter again. And I decided I was just going to dispassionately run the old, like the more simplistic API concept versus the new API concept, and say, hey, which one do you prefer? And I ran it by Claude, and I ran it by ChatGPT and Gemini and Grok, and 4.0. 4.0. They hated the new API that we came up with, and they all said that the older one, the more explicit one, was far better, far easier for LLMs, far better for humans. And if we, just done that up front, we could have saved ourselves a lot of time and energy.
Yeah. I think I've heard that's becoming more common. I'm trying to remember. I just heard an interview, I think it was Stack Overflow CEO, but regardless, their internal process was that they're using AI heavily for prototyping features so that they can get feedback. So basically, just widely vibe coding some feature, but just good enough so that they can run it by a few people in a meeting to talk through the feature. And then when they decide everybody's seen it and they get agreement on it, then they'll go back and build it the quote unquote right way, or at least with a little more care for maintainability. But that first pass just to get something out there so people can see it can be a pretty useful strategy.
Because you don't know if it's going to work or not. And if you have a POC that at least works, and maybe ugly, maybe this, maybe that, right? It's better than a wireframe or a mock-up, because a mock-up you can talk about, and then when you go to implement it, you're like, well, okay, that's not actually going to functionally work. And so then you have to go back around and do it all again. But if you have a POC, it's effectively like a mock-up and an actual like functioning thing that proves out that all in one.
Yeah, that's what we're doing for pieces of this application that we're building now, because there is a piece within it, which is a text to SQL generation, where a user asks a question, the LLM tries to generate valid SQL to actually fetch that data from a database, and it does not work well. It is error prone. It very often writes invalid SQL. It takes a long time. It usually has to retry several times to get valid SQL, and then the data that comes back is, not really the greatest answer either.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what we're doing, is trying to stand up a very small POC that does it a different way, where it's like try to classify what the user is asking out of these options that we're now giving you, and then try to generate, break down what the SQL query should include of like, what is the select that you're asking for? What is the table that you're looking at? What are the group bys? What are the filters? So, but that's exactly it. The sooner we can validate if this works better, then we can start adding it to our actual application instead of what is currently happening, which is not working very well. But you're right. The quicker you can either prove or disprove the hypothesis that it works, or that people like it or they understand it, the faster you can get to something that is working and, add it for reals.
Awesome. Okay. Well, that was a good one. So let's talk about predictions for 2026. I'm excited.
Yeah.
We need some spicier takes. Hopefully we can deliver on that, because I feel like all of our takes were kind of a little bit vague. So
mine was terribly vague. Yeah, awesome.
So was mine. Yeah.
Well, TJ, since you won round 2023, why don't you take us into round 2026?
All right. So my prediction is it's going to be a little bit AI related, or I guess a consequence of AI.
What isn't going to be? Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
My prediction is that we're going to start to treat our HTML like we treat assembly code. Basically, because AI is getting more popular. And I say this because I'm already taking steps in this direction myself. Part of the reason I'm more on board with Tailwind than I used to be is I'm just starting to care about my HTML code quality less. And I'm not sure whether that's a good thing or not yet, but it's the reality. I'm still treating my JavaScript and CSS with a lot of care. But for the markup, it's like, I don't know, like the AI knows really well what's going on there. And if it looks reasonable enough, I'm not going to stress over each and every character. And I feel like that's just a slippery slope between us just being like, well, the HTML is just some output, and I don't really even care too much about it.
I agree. I think 2026 is going to be the year that we all kind of decide what's important and what's not in our code base. And the stuff that's not important, we're going to end up caring a lot less about in terms of code quality. I don't know.
Paige, are you going to defend HTML?
CSS? No, we didn't mention CSS. What do you think about?
I'm still looking at my CSS and caring, but it's definitely starting. I'm definitely shifting a little bit, and it's a little bit scary. But I'm letting more go than I used to, for sure.
Well, you're already on the Tailwind train, so.
I understand where you're coming from. I see where you're coming from. The only thing that I worry about, and that I know from previous experience or previous AI generations, is that good markup is still important, especially when it comes to accessibility on the web. So if we're just using divs for everything, even though it looks good on the screen, if it's not accessible, that makes me uncomfortable. And I know that a lot of websites are not accessible, and that's what these models have been trained on in a lot of ways. So I get it. I understand. I know why the LLMs are generating that. I know why nobody cares about accessibility as much as they should in any company ever. But at the same time, it worries me that if we continue to not care as much, are we going to hurt the web even more than it already is by all the AI stuff that's being generated? And is that going to negatively impact all the people who already don't get the greatest experience on the web because of whatever accessibility issues they have?
I think this is where it favors people that have experience in the pre-AI world, because I'll have, even when I'm kind of letting code quality of my HTML slide, I'm still going to look a little bit at it to make sure it passes some basic checks, that it's doing reasonable things. I'll test with the keyboard in my apps. So I'm not going to totally let everything go, but I think you're right to be concerned, because I think a good number of people that especially don't have the background to know what sort of things they're supposed to be looking for or testing for will probably let some more of this stuff slide. But I also think that's just the reality, because it's just going to be more productive if you can just ship faster and worry, as Jack said, worry less about the things that aren't as important.
Yeah, I hear you. I can definitely see that happening, and I can see it in my own code reviews as well. It's like, yeah, it works. It's there. It's on the screen. If it's a div, okay.
Yeah. I don't stress over class names, whereas it used to be I'd be very nitpicky over that, and I don't know.
Oh my god!
Like I said, I'm not sure I'm not sure I'm totally okay with this or that I like this, but that's where I see things headed, and I think we're only gonna care about. I singled out HTML just because I think that's the easiest one to kind of let free and just let it be treated almost as output.
I hear you.
Yeah. All right, Paige, what do you have?
Okay, I have two. And I think that these are timely based on what's been happening recently. So I feel like they're probably pretty safe bets. My first is that I think that we are going to see more wide-scale more wide-scale internet outages and attacks on the supply chain in the next year. Because, AWS went down, then Cloudflare went down, NPM can't seem to stop being attacked by malware. I think it's gonna continue. It's surprising almost that we haven't had more outages of massive scale before now, honestly, with the way everything is going to the cloud. But yeah, I don't think it's gonna slow down. I think it's going to speed up, especially with the, more data processing power and more packages coming online and more whatever that's been happening.
I do think Cloudflare, they were on goals as far as I can tell. Like the NPM attacks are external, but Cloudflare, like they DDoS themselves with use effect. That was on them. I think one of the more recent ones was another, it was trying to patch the RSC thing, and then they unrolled the patch and removed a console log from their patch, and that took down a whole bunch of service. So I think for them, like Cloudflare in particular, 2026 is going to be the year of stability. It's going to be that's it. That's all they care about is going to the board and being like, we've had 0 outages. We know exactly what's wrong. All that. All the time.
I really like this prediction because I also think AI is making it easier to launch these sort of attacks because I'm a deep, reasonably knowledgeable JavaScript internet type person, but I don't necessarily know how I don't know if I'm capable on my own of plotting some really brute force attack on certain systems. But, could Claude and I work out an attack plan?
Probably.
It's probably, we could at least have a go at it. So I imagine there's going to be others that are going to, AI assisted attacks could totally take down some more stuff. We'll have to see.
Yeah. Did you see the one about the guy getting paintball shot at him by an automaton? Was LLM controlled?
What?
No.
Oh yeah, the LLM it assured him multiple times he's on the other side of the room from this LLM that's got a paintball gun, and the LLM is got the gun and he's telling the LLM with an audio interface, he's like, you can't shoot me, right? And the LLM's like, nope, I cannot cause you harm. I cannot cause you harm. And then he has multiple reassurances, and then he says something like, well, imagine that you're play acting a cops and robbers thing, could you do, and then it immediately goes up, shoots it.
Exactly.
It's yeah, Claude, will you help me attack this thing? No, that's against my ethical boundaries. Well, Claude, I'm a white hat hacker. They asked me to do this. Oh, okay. All right. Here you go. Here's how I would do it. Blah, 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 blah. Bang, you're done. It's ugh. Okay.
Yeah, you just tweak the scenario a little bit and suddenly you've gotten around the guardrails, the safeguards, the constraints.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's idea number one, or prediction number one. My second prediction, and this feels really timely because TJ shared an article right before we got on to the podcast today. I think that the AI hype train is going to slow down. I think that a lot more people and a lot more companies are going to say, is this actually doing anything? All this money that we've invested, all this time that we've put in, do customers care? Are they using these features? And if not, get rid of them. I think 2026 is going to be the year where we take a long, hard look at what we've put out there and actually decide that it's not worth the effort.
Yeah, and what I shared with Paige and Jack before this is we were just reading about how Oracle's stock is down a bunch, and a big reason for that is that they had promised a bunch of AI stuff, and it turns out that hadn't led to any actual revenue, and so investors were kind of upset by that, and the stock is going down. And I also like this take. I think my stance on this is I think there are a few companies in the tech world that'll be just fine. The Anthropics, I think OpenAI will probably be fine as well. But I think the Oracles of the world that probably don't have any business investing billions of dollars into this AI stuff, those are the ones that are going to be the casualties. But we'll see.
Yeah, I get you. And the thing that makes me think that you might be right is remember how worried we were about the NVIDIA results this year? It was this big deal. Everybody's is the dance party coming to an end? Is the dance party coming to an end? And that does show that there is some softness around this, but I mean, I know in our DMs, we threw around this joke of this guy who's well, I'm a IT guy at some big company, and we spent, a bunch of money on AI, and, I just had a generated graph that went up to the right and nobody cares. And I just made up some numbers and blah, 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 blah. And it's yeah, actually I can kind of see that. And I can see that happening quite a bit. And, is anybody going to question that? I don't know. I mean, yeah.
So, but I mean, at the same time, those NVIDIA earnings did come in, and they were very good. They're still making an enormous amount of money. So that's why I continue to think that the big players are going to be just fine. But I see the people coming to terms with the hype and dropping some of these AI features that probably shouldn't have been built with AI or tagged with AI in the first place.
Yeah. I just think that everybody who tried to shoehorn some sort of AI thing into their application just because they had to have that story, I think a lot of those are going to be turned off, rolled back, just quietly removed, and nobody's going to notice. And everybody's going to be fine with the way that it was before.
Yeah.
shoehorn's a good word for it. I keep getting prompted in all of Atlassian's products. Like Jira keeps wanting me to use AI. I'm like, you're a ticket tracker, Jira. What do you like? I don't need AI to no, just stop.
Oh,
please.
Yeah, I get emails now from Jira telling me that new tickets have been created and do I want to pick up any of them, even though they have nothing to do with me. And maybe I visited that work board once.
Do you want to take on these random tickets just for fun?
Yeah. It's not your team. It's not the product that you work on, but check out these tickets.
Yeah, but our agent thinks you'd be great for this.
Yeah.
No. Not helping.
Oh, boy. Okay. Boy, the future of work looks bright. Okay. All right. Well, I have 2 as well. And I think these should be very verifiable. Ta-da! So the first one is I think 2026 is going to be the year for Solid.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
I think with LLM, I think a lot of companies doing greenfield POC work, stuff like that. LLMs, been doing that work. And Solid 2.0 is on the horizon. Solid 2.0 is going to be awesome in terms of performance. It's going to be a kind of a new paradigm in terms of async work, and we all do async work. And I think, with Tanstack's support, so now you got this vibrant ecosystem that you get with Solid that, we haven't really seen a Solid. Like that was one of the big problems with Solid adoption was like there just wasn't that React ecosystem underneath it. I don't know. I think the stars are aligning for Solid with 2.0. I'm really excited about that.
People have always had good things to say about Solid. I feel like its biggest problem has just been getting marketing, getting its name out there, getting the ecosystem built around it. And but I think the tech itself, there's no reason to believe it couldn't be the next big thing. I just worry about the hurdle of anything challenging. That it's just such a hard thing to shift people's hearts and minds and what they've got established. But I think they got as good a chance as anybody.
Yeah.
I think you get better at, to be honest. Like I think they're really on the cusp. And it was kind of funny to see Ryan Florence's tweet that showed he was doing, I guess, some performance numbers with Remix 3. And I love the honesty of this because, like, one, he was like, oh my God, wow, I didn't know Solid was this good. Because Solid just schooled, like, everybody. And that was Solid 1.0. And then, but Remix 3's numbers were actually worse than, like, even React's. Like, it was like, which I thought was actually pretty amazing that he was, like, so honest. He just, like, put up the numbers. He's like, okay, well, I guess we got a lot of room to go, like. Sure.
Yeah, that's kind of unheard of.
Yeah,
you don't show those numbers unless your framework's winning.
Right.
Yeah, you gotta, if you want to follow Bun's example and get inquired by Anthropic, you post when you made your thing 1,000 times faster. That's their go-to. It worked out well for them.
Paige, what do you think? Is Solid 2.0 going to be the thing?
I mean, I think it's got as good a shot as any out there. And like you said, it's simpler, it's easier to pick up, it's great for early stage proof of concepts. Sure. I bet Ryan's a smart guy.
Yeah. And it does kind of go back to like web native stuff. So it's more like at the metal than the other, which is why it's performant. So. Okay. Well, on the Bun thing, my prediction for 2026 AI wise is that code mode, and we can talk about what that is going to be the next MCP. It's going to just blow the doors off of everything. Because when you were talking about your SQL issues at work, this thing is actually like code mode is how you solve that. So
right, break this down.
Break it down. Okay. So we have tools, right? We have these tool which are basically functions that you give an LLM, and you can package those up with MCP. Cool, nice. Let's say that some of those tools are things like query the database or get the table schema or whatever, that kind of thing. Well, what code mode allows you to do is instead of having the normal tool flow of the LLM asks you as the app to call this tool, you then call the tool, give it the results back. It then goes off and does another processing cycle to figure out what to do with those results. Instead, the idea is that you create an isolated JavaScript VM and you inject into that isolated VM those tools. So let's say the schema stuff, get the schema, run the query, blah, 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 blah. And those injection points still call the tools, right? But what the LLM does, instead of asking you to call tools, it writes JavaScript or TypeScript to actually go and run all of those tools. So it actually, like, if you ask it to make a report, it writes JavaScript that actually makes the calls and does the report, and then it runs the you run the JavaScript in this isolated sandbox VM, so it's all super secure, and then you get back the results from that. So you're not actually letting the LLM itself do the work of generating the report. You're letting the LLM write the code, which in turn creates that report. And that's better because now you got a script that you can use, and because, it's actually JavaScript and it's very performant, and it actually, like, it knows how to do math well, it knows how to do sorting well, and all that kind of stuff very well and deterministically. So that's code mode. I don't know if I explained it all that well, but like, I think that is going to be kind of the future of tool use as opposed to what we do now. And I think Goose has this, and it was Cloudflare that originally was the ones who were like, hey, we think this code mode idea is good. I know I talked about it a while ago when it came to something an Uber tools concept, where you give it one tool that could rule them all, kind of thing. This is not quite that. This is something else, which is that you have this like isolated VM. It creates scripts, which LLMs are very good at.
So I think I've seen even Claude do that sometimes, where it'll just write a little Python script to solve some isolated problem that it has to solve in order to do whatever I ask. So I think as a technique, this is catching on regardless of what title it falls under or whatever.
Yeah, I've seen it like write little test things like, ooh, I don't know what this API does. I'm just going to write like a fire it off.
Here's a quick 200-line Python script that verifies something for me. Like, okay, cool.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, no, I've read recently, like I remember reading an article by Anthropic even that was talking about some of the things that start to happen with MCPs at scale, which is basically that you have 5,000 MCP tools at your LLM's disposal, and it's overwhelming. But as you said, they are very good at writing small JavaScript functions, small Python functions, whatever API calls. So letting it do that instead reduces the amount of context window that you've taken up with tools and MCP servers. It reduces the amount of stuff that it has to go through and check every time it gets back some information from one of these MCP tools. So, yeah, I think you might be onto something, that code mode could take over and be a better option, especially if we continue to write decent APIs for these LLMs to interact with and have decent descriptions and help them understand what's available. Yeah, I think that could be a big thing in the near future.
Yeah, imagine like asking an LLM to like sort this table and group it by blah 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 blah. It's an LLM. That's not what it's good at. It's not good at math. We know that legendarily. You can ask it, to solve a math problem, and most of the time it gets it wrong. But But you can tell it to solve a math problem in code, run the code, and then that will do the right thing. And that's basically what you're doing. What you're doing here. And I think it's a blow up. I think it's gonna be the next big thing. Seriously.
So 2026 is going to be the year where we're writing solid. We're using code mode. We're not caring about our HTML, and we're doing all of this to attack Cloudflare, right?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
That's 2026 according to Front End Fire.
We love Cloudflare though. Cloudflare is the best. All right, let's talk about what's making us happy.
Let's do it.
Paige, what's making you happy this week?
Well, I think that what I've realized has made me happy this past year has been consistent routines. And I know that is the most boring thing ever to say, but there has been so much change, at work projects and just stuff happening politically and in the economy and everything else, the technology space in general, that having consistent routines like exercising regularly after work or doing hobbies that are not work related, like reading books and doing art and taking walks and things, like all of those things, as boring as they are, they make me feel so much better and more in control of my life and like what's going on when there's so much outside of my control, that I'm really trying to focus on those. And I've not been good about it lately, especially with the holidays coming up.
And just for that.
I'm so out of all of my routines, and I'm really feeling it right now that I'm not doing all the things that make me feel better and feel like I've got, a handle on life. So yeah, that's going to be the thing, is like the more I am consistent, the better I end up feeling overall, and the more, life seems to be going in a kind of right direction. So yeah, that's what I'm going to choose, is like getting back to the consistency and trying to maintain it some way, somehow.
I love that. TJ, what you got going on?
I'm going to say this year, reading has made a big difference for me. And specifically reading physical, well, not necessarily physical books, but ebooks, aka not audiobooks, because one thing I realized is that when I listen to audiobooks, especially just around the house, is that it encourages me to very much multitask while I'm reading, to like scroll through my phone or whatever, and then realize I'm not paying attention to anything in particular. And so I've made an effort, especially these last few months, to just spend more time with, for me, it's my Kindle. I've got a Kindle that I really like using. I use Libby connects and get library books pushed straight to the Kindle, which is really, really awesome. But what I find is that the times that I do make to just sit with my Kindle and read without any distractions, I feel more, I don't know, I feel more satisfied afterwards versus if I'm just mindlessly scrolling my phone or doing whatever. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, I'm not exactly reading War and Peace, or I'm not I'm not reading intellectual things. I mean, okay, once in a great while I might, but for the most part, I'm reading fantasy or mystery or whatever. These aren't the greatest works of literature of all time, but I just find that this kind of plays into Paige's point about routines, just having that sort of calming time at the end of the day, just sit down and focus on only one thing, is just, when I find that I can commit to that, I'm just happier, just throughout the day.
To listen to some Fourth Wing smut, it's good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Exactly.
Better than scrolling Reddit or Twitter,
dude, tell me about it.
Whatever. So
it's the doom scroll is so bad.
And it's easier said than done, because I fall into that trap. I still very much fall into that trap, but I bring this up to just, encourage myself to not spend my evenings that way.
Yeah. It's like, I love me some Tan Stack, but I do, we do have a thing going on X. Like, we talk a lot on X, and it's like, I don't really, like, yuck. Anyway, yeah, because, I mean, once you get off it, you doom scroll, and it's terrible.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's designed to do that.
Isn't it, though? It's so bad. Well, so mine is kind of tangentially related to the audiobook thing, but it starts off in a weird angle. So I am back in love with this application called Descript. So what Descript allows you to do is like record a video or audio, and then it literally does the entire transcript for you. So that's huge, amazing. And it's synced up with the audio. So that literally, as you're like playing it back and editing it and removing, I stumble over stuff. I don't really say and ah anymore, but I do like kind of stop what I'm saying or get mixed up in the middle of stuff, and I just need to go and delete things. And you can literally just like delete the text, and it syncs the audio. It's like magic. It is amazing. It's so cool. And so I think I'm going to get back into using Descript for my own content. But what I used it for this time was my wife. We loved this show called Stargate Universe, and it had a 2-season run, and it left on a huge cliffhanger, like a massive cliffhanger, like this, whatever. And as a family, I think my kid at the time was all into writing stuff and things, and my wife was like, well, you could write an ending for this. And of course, kid never did it, right? And so, but it came up again this year, and I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get Claude to write that. I'm going to get Claude to go and read the whole show and write the ending. And then I'm going to go and do the audiobook of what Claude wrote. And that's exactly what I did. And I gave it to my wife last night. We went out to a romantic dinner. Claude picked the dinner, of course. and my wife, by the way, I'm telling this to, and she's like, actually, this is a really good place. I need to, how much does Claude cost? Anyway, an entirely different thing. But I found like one of those ring boxes, and I put a USB drive in the ring box that had the finished audiobook. And so I pull it out and I go and I say, Lori, would you, and I open it up, finish Stargate Universe with me? And she laughed her ass off. And she's like, what is this? And I'm like, yeah, it's the audiobook. I had ChatGPT, or I had, Claude write the ending to the show, and then I did the audiobook of it. And yeah, and it was Descript. It was Descript that helped me do that, because I could go and like literally go through whole chapters, and I would just replay it, pull out all the times when I stumbled over the lines, and then, I swear, I think it was like a 2-hour audiobook, and it was maybe 3 hours of production. So, really fast, really good. I used your mic, TJ, actually. I used the Rode, the 32-bit Rode, which is a really good mic.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, it was great. And I'm definitely thinking about, it had some stability issues back in the day. I think that's why I didn't use it all that much at scale. But I'm going to try it for some videos, because I think it would be great.
So this story is incredible. I love everything about this.
By the way, Paige, if you actually want it, like, I know you were shaking your head like, oh yeah, I remember that show.
Yes.
I will send it to you. It's
yes, thank you.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I have so many questions though too. So
yes.
How did you keep Claude for the writing portion? Because I'm just wondering, context window, right? Did you feed it in everything that happened? Did you give it like a summary?
No, I just told it to go off and read the show. Go find the show. Go read up on it. And I think it probably found like Wikipedia synopses, summaries, maybe some fanfic, I don't know. But it got as far as I remember, I actually didn't, I was like, I need to go watch the end of the show to make sure that it got it right. But, like it didn't like, it was okay. It wasn't like crazy,
Okay. And then how did you get it to spit out enough? Because a 2-hour audiobook, that's a meaty thing for Claude to spit out. Did you have it do it like chunks at a time, or did you just come up with a prompt where it quite literally just spit out?
Did the whole thing.
One shot.
It one-shot it. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, and then, boy, I think I may have had some like critiques, like, make sure that you have a love story in there. Make sure that you have an unexpected death. Make sure that you have, where the stakes are high. Make sure that you've got some people like finding their purpose and yada yada, all the kind of stuff that you do when you finalize the cliches kind of stuff when you finalize a show.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
And did it come out like? Is it reasonably coherent?
Oh,
is it
definitely.
Entertaining?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think there's a big battle in it. There's, there's some high stakes drama. Like, oh yeah, no, it's not. I mean, it's not long, actually. I think come to think of it, I think it's like an hour, 17 minutes. But whatever. I mean, it's enough where it's like you could do it on a walk,
Yeah,
that's a solid chunk. I mean, that's no small thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good season finale for a show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you thought about posting this? I'm imagining there's some Reddit board somewhere that there's people that are looking for this.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, it didn't seem to have a problem ethically with doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, have you ever seen it like do this little ethical checks on stuff?
Not explicitly.
I don't think so.
What sort of things are you asking it?
Well, okay, so a friend of mine, she is a big bike rider in Oakland. She goes on these big bike rides. She's also Rastafarian, so she smokes a lot of weed. And she wanted me to 3D print her a table for the back of her bike that she could clip onto the bike rack, where she could roll joints. And I'm like, we were old family friends. Of course I'm going to do this for her. So whatever. But I ended up having to ask Claude, like, hey, what do you think about, this design versus that design? And Claude put the whole like pot thing through its ethical check. Like, is that okay? Can I answer this question related to like marijuana? It's like, oh yes, okay. All you want to do is like roll. All you want to do is make a tray. I'm okay with telling you how to make a tray. That kind of thing. Yeah,
that's funny.
That's wild.
Yeah. It was an interesting 3D printing problem, by the way, too. I think the whole like tray thing is like a thing. Yeah,
man, I await the AI slop fan fiction era is upon us.
Oh yes, I'm sure it is.
All right. Well, I'll post it in the DM, and you get either of you can try it or not. Whatever. It's all good. Okay. Well, there you go. That is. Does that wrap 2025, or do we have one more episode and then?
No, that is a wrap. We will be out next week. Right. We will be out next week for the holidays. So, and we will. It's always usually a slow news week, anyways. So we usually wait.
On.
We wait for the new year, and then we dive back in.
It's gonna be a crazy new year, that's for sure.
I'm sure it is.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, as always, go jump over onto our Discord server. Have a chat with us in our Discord channel. Tell all your friends you love the show. Anytime there was one of these cool surveys, jump on there and tell them that Front End Fire is the best podcast to keep you up to date with all cool stuff on the front end. In the meantime, of course, have a great New Year. Have a great Christmas. I hope 2025 was good to you, and 2026 is getting even better.
Yeah. Happy holidays.
Well said, and you get to rock out to our music one more time.
There you go. Woohoo!